Hello. Yeah, this is on. Welcome to the first panel of today, which is called From School to Life, supporting learning across a performing arts career. We have 5 panelists today, which is a lot for 45 minutes, so we'll be quite short, but there'll also be a time for 1 or 2 questions. My name is Laura Stašāne. I will be the moderator of this panel. I will shortly introduce myself relating to the topic. So I work in the performing arts as a dramaturg, maker, curator and mentor, with a special interest in public space, community work, and ecology, and ways we share time and space. My most important learning experience has been the involvement in the Performing Arts Festival Homonos here in Riga for 15 years. And I went back to education and just recently the formal school, and that's where I actually realized that my professional experience and my experience in school are on this very equal level. And I'll ask other panelists to introduce themselves.
Hello again, me again. I'm Aurélie and I'm the pedagogical director of the ESAC Lido in Toulouse. And I've been working for Lido during the last 17 years. And I've been through many different positions in Lido. Like I worked on insertion first, and then on the European project, and then I worked on the new organization of the school to become a superior school. And now I'm the pedagogical director. So it's a long time in Lido, but many different places in the team. And I've never been an artist, so I come more from the administrative field and programmation of festivals.
Hello, hi, I'm Dan Leman. I come from circus and physical theatre, performing for 25 plus years. I also run Tallinn Fringe Festival and also run a venue as well. And having those 2 perspectives, I support universities, graduates, and working artists to understand how to sell, be entrepreneurial, and to have a sustainable financial future as having a career as an artist.
This is also working. So, hello, my name is Rūta Pūce. I'm a contemporary dance artist, choreographer, performer, and also educator. I have been in the group who developed the contemporary dance educational program in Riga Ballet School. It's like a secondary schools level, like high school. And my main interest, which is relevant to the education, is how we can make structures in like formal education who really can help to live afterwards in a work field, and how these structures can be alive so they can adapt when their life also changes.
Hello, I'm Alise Bokaldere. Officially, or by official education, I'm a dancer and choreographer, but I'm a freelance artist, which also means I'm a hair hanger, a circus artist, an organizer. I've done talk moderations, I've made podcasts, I've helped run festivals. The list goes on. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about in between official and unofficial education. And I'm happy to be here.
I have microphone. Hi, I'm Anna Beentjes. Until recently, I was the head of a Bachelor program, circus program at Codarts. I've been there for 16 years. Before there, I also worked at Codarts for the Dance Academy and the music department. And I've been a producer for contemporary opera and music and dance and theater for many years before. So I'm not an artist.
Well, thank you. And that's great, actually, that we have a mix of artists and people who are not artists, but involved in the same field. So I'll dive right into the topic of this panel, transition from school to life, meaning probably professional life. From the artist perspective, how was your personal experience? And now I'm looking at Alise and Rūta and Dan. What was working for you, what was missing, and what maybe would be your message to younger generations?
Okay, so I finished Bachelor program in choreography in Latvian Academy of Culture and later also a Master's. About the Bachelor program, the thing which I missed most when I went into the real life, was that I didn't have any skills apart from dancing, actually. For example, project writing, creating yourself, make a web page for yourself, and these kind of things to first of all be recognizable, so that I am recognizable, and also how to get the money to do something. So these was the things I had to learn as I go through life.
Yeah, we went to the same school, so the experience is fairly similar. I would add to that also that I had to learn my own artistic practice, because the school, it gives you a lot of information, a lot of things to absorb, but not so much time to go, okay, what do I want to do, and how do I want to approach this work, and do I want to approach this profession? So everything kind of the same, yeah, but just that on top of it.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Oh, by the way, I just want to say thank you. It's so good to be here with all the people in the audience and having chats the whole time, and such a great panel here as well. From the artistic side of things, from mine, I studied circus and then physical theatre, and I dropped off the cliff 2 times. I walked out of those institutions with an act or a show, and I didn't know what to do next. And after falling off the cliff twice and then falling into administration, running festivals and a venue, I saw myself walk into my venue nearly every day of the week. And I go, oh my God, what was I doing when I came out of the physical theatre and circus schools? And now using that knowledge to support, so when we're looking at what can we do, what can I tell the younger generation is that, and what can we do as well? So I'm actively wanting to support our artists that come through university, and at that point, to give them motivation, action points, and to think of a strategy of, well, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And how can we break that down into smaller little steps? So that if you want to perform at Cirque du Domaine, then yeah, that's not going to happen this year potentially, but what are the steps that you can take today to get there? And strategizing with people and talking to them. And it's a start for me to be able to provide this through our festival and also consulting and talking with people. But I think that we can collectively also build bigger institutions that can provide that support. So if an artist is in their career in their 20s or 30s, where do they go if they're alone? We've heard today that there's a lot of solo circus performers being put out there. If they're working and they're in their 20s and 30s and they need support to strategize or talk about business or just a handy ear to talk to, where do they go? And that's what I'd like to build, and I think something that we can actually solve. That's what I'd like to know as a young performer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and now I would like to ask people who are involved in their daily work as institutions, and you're probably aware of this transition much more than it was in my time. So what initiatives are there for students, and what skills and conditions are you able to create for students?
So we try to organize it during the curriculum, and they have we are in Exacto Lido. The pedagogy is pedagogy by doing, learning by doing. So during the second year they create a show, a collective show, and then they do a tour, and they have to organize the tour. So they are doing the administration, they are doing the the contractualization with the place where they're going, and they do the communication, they try to do the technical part. So we try to make them work on it from the second year. And in the third year, they have more theoretical courses about administration, production, and that kind of things. But the fact is, I think one of the big things is they don't behave the same as students and as artists. So it's very hard. The learning management, first I want to say, we ask a lot of things to schools. And we ask schools to teach students to be artists, managers. It's a lot, and we can't do that in a 3-year formation. So there will be lacks. And second, not all the students have capacities or are able to do all those things. So it's part of the way to make them understand that they won't be able to do everything, and they won't have the capacity to do everything, and they will have choice. And I really try to make them understand that they need to work in a cooperative way too, and they will have to speak with people around them. Sorry, I'm a bit long, but and I want to say also, one of the main things is they don't behave the same when they are students and when they are artists, and some of them are very active when they are students, and then they don't do anything else when they are artists. And on the other way, some of them doesn't do anything when they are artists and when they are students, and discover themselves as manager because they don't. The position we have, the communication we have in the school is, they have problem with authority and a lot of things. So, and in Exacto, the other thing we do is trying to make bridges with places where they can show their work, and we also have a thing we call API, and which is the accompagnement pour l'insertion, and it's 6 months after the diploma when we try to give them more bridges toward festivals and help them to understand how to make a budget and things like that. So it's just 6 months after the diploma.
Yeah, in Codarts is a 4-year program, so we have 1 year longer. And you try to provide the students with tools to enter the professional working field. And it's a lot. Besides the circus subjects and the arts subjects like dance and music and dance, you also have like entrepreneurship. So in the 3rd and 4th year, one is like grouping together as you're a collective, and each group is working on a different subject, like communication, like financing, like production, and you present it. And in the 4th year, it's more towards your individual promotion. So you also can make your own website and your like application to enter like a funding application. It's trying to. It's never enough because, and also the diversity is so immense of the students. So you never can provide everything students want, but you try to guide them. What we also try to do is introduce the working field, the international working field in the school through various ways. So, for example, by asking international guest teachers, directors for the group productions, panelists, for example, in the committees, the audition committee, the final exam committee, we have like external panelists, and this also creates discussions within the panel and also with like the graduating students. Where are they, and where are they in the international field? Because they have the experience. So these are let's see. We also do surveys of the working fields. Also people who worked with our students, but also with residencies, festivals, etc., to see we have learning outcomes for our school. Do we meet them? Are they sufficient for the working field? Do they have any advice for us? What are our pros and what are our countries? What should we be working on?
Yeah, what I hear already from both of you, that you mentioned that you graduate school as an artist, but you also are entering a community, not only working life. But I think that's a very important point to remember that you're never alone. There is already a community for you. And a community is made of different individuals, obviously, but it's also like an ecosystem where different skills are needed. So everyone doesn't need the same, but I think very often it's the feeling from the school that you have to somehow be competing, while I feel that in professional life it's more about collaboration, or in my opinion at least. And from that I'm curious about something that the question comes from a Latvian context, that in Latvia there is a high value on formal education, and that I say, for example, with the example of contemporary dance, where education is still very recent. And until we got it, dance was considered a very marginal field. It still is, I guess. But that also creates a situation where people with professional artist life find it, and without formal education, but very rich professional life, find it hard to enter the professional field. And how do you experience this? Could these two be equal, formal education and your experience in the working field? Is education somehow also not maybe, I wouldn't say not only doing good thing, but somehow it creates this hierarchy in the field, that those with school education are somehow considered a more serious artist. So what's your experience with that?
I think there definitely is this like preconception that if you're if you have a diploma, you're more educated, right? But I feel it has so much to do with how you learn best. So for me, education, what it gives is it gives foundations, but then actually what you do with those foundations is who you become as an artist or an organizer or any of those things. It's like it gives you the seeds that you can then grow, but it doesn't mean that you can't do that without a formal education. And like I learn really well if somebody's teaching me. Like I enjoy having a teacher. That's something that I know works for me. But for example, my partner hates having a teacher. You know, he learns best by exploring and researching by himself. And those are also like, it's not a better or worse way of learning. It's just what works for you. And I think also with the times changing, information is so available right now. So before, maybe an education could be, you know, the closed doors that you have to go through in order to access the people who can teach you or who can give you that information. But that's not the case anymore. And I think some of these ideas that, that this is the only way to become professional have kind of still migrated over from a time where maybe that information wasn't very accessible. But also in arts, it's also very interesting because it's not just information, it is experience, it's your own expression. And how do we even begin to judge what counts as like being a professional artist, I think is a bit of a high ask.
If I may add to that as well, I think it's not really important if it's formal or informal or how we get there. I think the benefits of formal education give you a network, which can gatekeep, and that's the benefit of it. But having a decent show or something that you can go to the market and sell, it's pretty possible for a lot of people to have a decent show that people should see and they'll get something out of, that festivals will book, that venues will book, that will give you a career. I think the difference between a formal and informal education is the next step after that of how are we being supported to actually then sell that into the market, into the real world. And I think formal education, it's great to hear that there's already stuff being done. This is brilliant. I think the informal people that go along actually know that already because they lack the network. They're only going to ever get booked if they go out there and find it themselves. And so there's that activity and motivation that gets them to actually have a career through the the non-formal directions. So I think there's something we can learn from both sides for sure. They can definitely help each other out, but the main problem is that there's not enough talk about strategy. We're very good at creating, and not to ignore that, for the creativity for it, but it's a slight different mindset change to then think about of a strategy, how do we sell that? And it is business-minded. Not everyone's great at business, indeed, and they shouldn't have to be, but they have to understand the basics of it. We can't ignore it. We have to understand the basics of it so we can actually get people involved to help sell what we've got.
So I wanted to add about the Latvian situation, where if you are freelance artist, for example, dancer or circus artist, your one and only funding system is a Latvian Cultural Capital Foundation, where in the jury who read your application, there are persons from different performing arts field who maybe don't know you as a dancer or as a circus artist. And then, if they see that you have this formal education, of course, they notice, okay, you are legit, I can give you money. But if it's not there, then I suppose it's the problem here in Latvia that you can't maybe get into this competition to get money for your project.
I think there's another important aspect, like you were saying about community, and one of the easiest ways to become part of a community is to go to things that are happening, right? The events, performances, talks, all of these things. And again, Latvian specific situation is we have things happening, but it doesn't reach enough people. It is quite a closed community, and also because it's a small community and it doesn't have the outreach, it's quite sparse with what's happening. So trying to infiltrate something that is hard to grab is also part of the threshold of getting into this community if you're not already part of it in your education.
Do you have any training spaces where you meet other professionals, for example? For example, in our school, at the after-school hours, professionals can come training and they get in contact with students. So it's an informal way of meeting people from the working field. Does that exist here?
In dance, we have Choreographers Association, which is the association of all who are choreographers or dancers. And I think this is the best informal place where to meet people. And if you want to become a member, what? We have a space. We have a space like a bureau office. And yeah, and they are organizing also events where you can meet people and enjoy to the dance classes and so on. So I would say we have this community thing.
Yeah, I guess, my question probably was about the role of gatekeeping of schools in a way that you become too strong presence in the field, like everyone who's a serious artist should go through a school. While I'm kind of, looking for keeping this diversity of allowing many people in. But I think the real question is, who is the gatekeeper? And if it's the artist community themselves, or is it an institution? And I think between artists and institutions, there's always this ongoing conversation. I don't know, how is your experience in France? You try to think, okay.
Yes, I think it's. There are many ways to go in the network and to develop your own project, and it can be through applications and things which are open to everybody. But there are some conditions that are different for people. Like if you come from a school, you've got that label which gives you a kind of legitimacy or something like that. But I still think it's very important to go in festival and speak with people and you know, spending time and the people, the young artists I can see who are doing their way, they have that. I think at one point the school can't do everything, and there is something very important with the behavior, the way people are, and can they do they know how to speak with people? And I try to explain to the student that what will build their career will be built on trust. For me, the most important quality for an artist is to be able to build that trust. The fact that people will trust them. If they are always late, or if they are not regular, or if they are not able to speak correctly to people, that's part of the trust they will have to build, and that's very important, I think. And beyond all the physical capacities and everything you can do, that the way you will speak with people and cooperate with people is based on trust, and you have to build that.
Sure, I will comment then. Yeah, totally, agree, 1000%. As a booker as well, seeing from that side, or even getting into a school as well, we're not booking a show. I'm booking a person that I know artists from Artist World. We don't want to I'm going to use a word to try and as artists we don't want to work with dickheads, and you know what? Festivals and bookers also don't want to work with dickheads. And it's also finding that out through communication. Do I trust them? And do I get along with them? So it's a subjective choice. And I think that in our schools, for what we get, we always think it's about the show. And if a show doesn't get picked up or doesn't have a good run with enough tickets being sold, then we think it's on the quality of the show. I don't think it could be, but I think we need to explore further what other things could we have done or could have been improved to make sure that that show got more people in. And it's generally how we approach, how we sell that to an audience, how we sell that to a booker, how we talk to them about it, how we have that first introduction. And indeed, this is a great point, and this is global stuff for education. It shouldn't be our responsibility as circus schools to be teaching people how to communicate and how to be a human being and talk to someone. That comes down from base level as well. But we have to deal with that and support that, and it's really great that you're talking to people about that, because I didn't know that as an artist. I thought it was about being the best circus performer in the world, and that's the only way I would ever have a successful career, and that my act would dictate where I went. Absolutely not. I was in total control of where my act and my show took me.
I wanted to add a little bit. You said that the school shouldn't teach these soft skills we call the communication, blah, blah. I kind of not agree with that. I think that school, even the school where I'm working, like this high school level or bachelor degree, is the place where we can try out how we communicate and how we are doing things and how we are arranging things, and hopefully we get some experience and also consequences. For example, if I'm not coming to rehearsals, I will not get the solo in this piece. It's normal consequence to understand that after this few years of education, I will go to the real life and maybe I will come to the rehearsals. I say hello to my students there. So yes, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, these are skills, these are also bachelor skills, like communication, presentation, analyzation. And presentation doesn't mean only present your circus act, but also present your proposition, or that goes further. So it's a requirement as a part of the diploma.
Yes, thank you. Another aspect, also coming from maybe my experience in the Latvian context, is about not the very early career of an artist, but already when you're kind of in mid-career. And the learning process there, and the value or the importance of artistic research, which is, again, I would say in local context here, it's still a new thing to have a professional PhD, for example. It's possible to do it in the Culture Academy here, but you are very much left on your own doing it. There is very little support because it's such a new thing. So I also wonder about this, how do you see, also maybe within your institutions, the future for artistic research? And I see it as a part of education, and I see it actually as part of your skills to be able to talk about your practice, like how to not only sell, like, here's my product, but how can you talk, why you do it, what questions interest you, and yeah, how you approach it as institutions. Do you think about it for the future perspective?
Yeah, I mean, we already start with it in the first year when they start working on their individual subjects and projects. You're guided in it. So you already start asking yourself the question, what I want to do, etc. You get it in until your final exam. So that is the start within the bachelor program, what we do.
I think it's very important to keep learning whole year, whole life long, and it's very important to, you know, going to formation and being. I've got in mind that example of Eva Ordonez, who is she did the Lido 20 years ago. So I can call it Lido because it was Lido at that time, and she's now working for the Cirque Pardi, and she's also an interpreter in a company, a theater company, and she went back to school and she did a master in Marseille, the street art master, and she keep learning, and I think it's very hard. It's something a bit hard when you are an artist. I'm not an artist, but I got friends around me and I can see that you have to be at the same time very self-confident, very sure of what you're doing, and you know, keep searching in one way. The notion of obsession is very important for me. You know, as an artist, you have obsessions and you go further in it, and at the same time, sometimes you have to keep that, to be the position of humility and humble, and knowing that you don't know anything and everything, and you have to keep learning things. So it's a bit hard to be at the same time self-confident and humble, but I think it makes you go further and keep the taste for research, the desire for research.
So I understand artistic research in a way that during my artistic practice, I get a new knowledge about some kind of topic because of that. So that I think that it's important thing is to make a new knowledge. It's like any research, artistic research or not artistic research. So I don't think that artistic research means that I am researching the theme I'm working on, but that through the arts, through the process, I get something out. And in this kind of way, I tried it once during my master's studies, and it was really hard. And as Laura said, I felt alone, really alone, because in that program where I studied, it was something, I think, new, and there wasn't any normal guidance. But at the end, I think it was worth it, and I plan to keep working like that. But I am not sure if I would do a PhD because I want to do the artistic research. Also because of, you said that you're kind of left alone a little bit in Latvia, I think so. But maybe it's changed already now. It was a few years ago.
Indeed. I would ask the reason, academic research, yes. But when? When is the right time for that? is that distracting from your artist career when you should be performing? We have a pretty short shelf life as circus performers, depending on what artistic discipline you go for. And if we're doing artistic research, yes, I think that we should definitely get the stories and the experience from all of the performers that have come through and document that in a way that is easy for us to digest as an audience, absolutely. But I would want to know when. And also the other question of, if it's artistic research and we want to prime that to get people to understand it, is that just then trying to conform to the structure that we've got for this formal education? Is that why we're doing it? To get that master's, to get that recognition so that we can continue going into that field that we spoke about before, you're recognised, you've got a better chance of getting your funding application green-lighted. I would say that if we're looking for education, yes, just when, and it should come from formal and informal places. I don't think you should have to do your PhD or master's to be able to get the information out there to support artists. Yeah.
Yeah. Formal education, it's a very strange place, because at the same time you have to foster the research of the artist and make him work. And most of the time, you know, those obsessions I was speaking about they come from school, and that place which is a shelter where you can try everything. And it's very important that in schools we keep that place safe. And it's very important that it's a place where you can try everything and learn from your fragilities and your failures. And at the same time, we are a place where we have to learn the tough realities of life. So it's a constant travel between that freedom and that way of encouraging failures, research, and at the same time, a place where you have to say, well, after that it will be hard, and you have to learn to be able to go in the real world. So it's a kind of a paradoxal learning we have to do during those years.
I was kind of thinking about what you were saying about when to do artistic research, and personally, most of my shows are artistic research in their creation, but I think we're also missing this whole sector or understanding that artistic research isn't just about, you know, creating new skills, but also, like, a friend of mine is researching like dance and Parkinson's, you know, and that can be artistic research. What direction is your research taking you will also kind of dictate when, how, and where you should do that research. And I think that's a whole conversation. And also, if we speak about formal and informal spaces, most of my artistic research has happened informally, because formally I learn technique. I learn, you know, these very structured things that then help me research. But the research is for myself. It's for my own creativity, my own kind of interests, and where I want to deep dive. And unless I do go into these like doctorates where that's the point of that education, I think formal education is more structured, or broader. It's a broader structure to cater to many different interests and not just one deep dive one.
Yeah, or also as we hear that schools might provide this safe space also hopefully also for making mistakes and testing things out. And why not have these safe spaces also when you're a mid-career artist, that you have a chance to return to school, and there is the possibility of artistic research. And for me, it's about taking time differently. Like, you're not rushed in your research anymore. You're not researching for one performance, but you're given this time. And there I see really a very interesting collaboration between educational field and professional field. Like, how to maintain this relationship throughout the artistic career, not just, okay, there's a school, then it finishes, and then you're out for the rest of your life. And I think that's also the question of how education develops, how it changes in nowadays. And I think especially it's interesting in the circus field, where the educational institutions still are young and they are coming up in many countries. They are the only one, and in Latvia we're still developing the one, and that might already be a very progressive and in the approach to what education means and for what type of people, what age of people. Yeah, so this is, I think, the takeaway. And because of the time, I would like now to ask if there are any questions from the audience. Do you see us?
Hi. Thank you for your discussion and your thoughts. And I was thinking, like, I graduated from formal education, and I was traumatized by the fact that when I graduated, I had to make my own schedule. I was so taught that at 8 I have to be in ballet, then I have to do this. From 4 to 6 I have creative time. Even creative time was like scheduled. And then I graduated, and then it was like, but wait, when and how? And I wonder, like, is it maybe possible to consider such things? Like now we speak about like formal versus informal, but what would be if formal actually collaborates with informal? And that it is interchange, that you somehow see also like the bonuses of informal education, that you actually plan your time and you know, like, somehow, yeah, you schedule it better and it's less scattered. So I suppose, like, I would like to hear your thoughts about formal working with informal as a...
For me, the question of time is one of the most important question when you are an artist. You know, you don't have it. There is the short term, then there is the longer term. What you're going to do the day before, the day after, next week, and there is that mid-term, what I'm going to do in 1 year, 2 years, and then there is the long term, what I'm going to do in 10 years, 20 years, and there is always that question of what I'm going to do, and I'm in that liberal system, you know, it's always very complicated to know how you're going to organize your personal time and the research, and that's very hard to learn. It's very hard to learn that, and you're right. When you are in a school, there is a regularity, and we try in Exacto Lido we try to change that through the years. So I mean, first year it's very regular, and in the second year it's more like master classes, and in the third year we try to have more time for autonomy and try to explain to the student that they will have to manage it. And I think most of the students most of the young artists who stop their work, it's not because of creation. And I was thinking, creation is not a question of ideas, it's a question of money and time. But most of them just stop and especially women, because of we are like that, but they stop not because of creativity, and they stop because of time, of what will I do with that time which is going, and how will I organize myself, and you know. So yes, it's a big question. Time is a big question, but I'm not sure we are able to teach that during the school time, because it's very special. School time is very, very special moment.
Yeah, and actually on the note of time, we have to wrap up, unless there is an urgent remark. Yeah, so thank you very much, and thank you to all the panelists, and thank you to the Riga Circus for organizing this.